everybody. I'm Brian Julius. I'm the Chief Content Officer for Enterprise DNA, and I'm here today with my very good friend, Federico Pastor. And I'm very pleased to announce, if you haven't seen this yet, that we've brought Federico aboard as our new head of challenges. I kind of think of him as the king of challenges. I think over the past year, I don't know if there's anyone who's participated in more challenges over different competitions and submitted more really top quality entries. So he's incredibly well qualified for this. He's really plugged into the community. He's passionate about challenges, and we're just real excited to have him as part of our team. So welcome, Federico.
Well, thank you very much, Brian. Yes, I think that King of the Challenge kind of came with me very, very close. And yes,
it fits.
I have more than 40 plus challenges that I entered through the years, 2.5 years, with different platforms. So that was for me the way to get better. COVID-19, lockdown.
And I think one of the things that's amazing to me in looking at your challenge entries is they're always different. You're always trying new stuff. No two of them really look the same. And I think that's incredible. So I think there's a lot to be learned from what you've done and what you bring to this.
I don't like copying. I like taking ideas. There is a say that if I go to see something, it's because I can steal something from it. Okay, if I go to a museum, I say I'm gonna see ideas. If I go into check this, I'm gonna see ideas, and I take from there. So it's not unique, but one, I don't like to copy, and two, I try to be different and original. And there are similar. I know my work, and if I see my work, I can say, yeah, that's me. But yes, it's a bit different. Being honest, I don't know how it happened. Sometimes I start from A and I want to go to B, but I go through C, D, and then come back to B again. So my process is not different. It's how I think it happened to almost everybody, that you start working in your process and you have your color palette and suddenly you make a mix of colors and how you say, oh, I like this color more than this one. And then you change it until everything starts making sense. But the first thing I do is to check the data. I want to make sure my data is correct. The numbers are correct. Because I know my limitation, I also know my strength. So I need to make sure my limitations are well placed. So there is no problem with that. And then I can show off.
And speaking of, as you say, kind of diving into the data, why don't we jump in right now and talk about Challenge 19?
Yeah, sure.
So kind of where you came up with the idea for this one, and kind of what you would highlight to folks who are looking to jump in and participate on this one.
When everybody is looking for this real world scenario, okay? I mean, you look at the comments in LinkedIn, I would like to do something that is close to the real world. I don't want to see more Contoso or any other data set. So this is a very normal, small data set. It appears to be small. And the idea is that you're at work, your boss tells you, hey, you have to do this. And I know, and you know, Brian, that in the middle of the process, they are going to come back to you and tell, listen, you have to change it. We have more data. So the real world scenario is you start working on your data set, working on your report in the know that some data is going to come in at some point.
Yeah, I mean, that is, absolutely the real world case, is that where else you provide a draft and client comes back and says, hey, I love this, but can we do this? Or can we change this? So, there's never, kind of a process I've been through where you just start a report, you finish it, and that's it. So I think
that is how it is. That is how it is. You might believe that your report is finished, and suddenly everything had to be almost remade. You have to start building again because the client wants different things. And I want people to start understanding that and don't get upset. I used to get very upset because I have all my report done and suddenly I had to change a lot of things, and I am working a very tight space. And now I have to add, and I have to take this off. I have to accommodate everything in the canvas. It was upsetting, but that's how it is, guys.
Well, I think there's also some real value in kind of learning how to build your reports and your data model flexibly so that they can incorporate those kind of changes as you go. So are there specific things that, other than kind of the flexibility and the fact that things are going to change a bit as we go through this scenario, are there things you would highlight to folks in terms of things to look out for, or tips you would give them to, kind of key on in order to put a really good entry together?
Correct. Yes. If you are new to a challenge or you have no practice, slow down, check your data. Okay. Prepare what transformation you are going to make. Okay. So I'm going to do this, and this. Observe the data. Can you enhance it? Can you bring any new columns? Can you split two columns to make a new dimension? Before you jump into the canvas to start creating chart and build like what everybody like, okay, slow down, make a plan, check the data properly, do your Q&A, transformation, enhance the data, and when you're happy with that, then you load it. There is no rush. We have 45 days to carry on building. Prepare your color palette, prepare your layout, carry on building, but there is no rush. You know data is coming.
Yeah, and for me, I always find one of the other things is, as you say, getting your hands dirty with the data for a few days and just really explore it and, do some preliminary analyses just to make sure you understand what's in there, kind of how the data set works. And then really, be thinking about what, particularly in kind of an open-ended brief like you've got this time, really be thinking about what are the questions you want to focus on? What is the story you're going to tell about this data?
Yeah, that's something that I want to make them to understand is there is no strict direction about it. You have a call center data set. Okay, you have time duration, waiting time, you have day and time. Okay, I want you to open your imagination and say, okay, if I am working in a call center, what I would like to see on my screen that will help me to operate better. Okay, we are open. Me, Enterprise DNA is open to in this challenge to. That's the data set. We want to see the operation. Yes, I want to tell you to tell me how many minutes we did in January last year, for example. But what I want you is to look at the data set and try to, be challenging and say, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to bring this into the equation. I'm going to do that with this data. You got representative, you got city, you have a state. You got time. So that can be the early shift, the mid shift, the morning shift, or the late shift. I want you to think about that, what you can do with the data, and then bring it into a report. It is a good report. It's a call center. You can introduce an intro page with 3 different navigation buttons or navigation pages. It's up to the participant.
Yeah.
We are not looking for nothing major. And I want to remember everybody something very important from me. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. I don't like overcomplicated challenges or overcomplicated reports. I prefer to go easy. If that is you or that is what you can do, you are very welcome.
That's great advice. And what about for folks who are, looking at this and kind of haven't participated in challenges before and are thinking, it's kind of intimidating to, jump in and put your work out there. What advice would you give to them?
Okay, I laughing because the other day I checked my first report. The first report I put on LinkedIn. Oh my God, that was terrible, Brian. That was horrible. But the community is great. The community is there to support you. Nobody's going to tell you, oh, that is horrible. We are not here for that.
Right.
Okay? We might here to give you a thumb up and say, listen, why don't you try this and that and the other? But without launching yourself, without throwing yourself into the deep end, you're not going to progress. You're going to be scared all the time. But it's going to happen to you at work too. You're going to be so shy that what you do is wrong that you're not going to be able to work. Now I can go to work and I don't care because I know what I have to do and I learn everything in challenges. And if you see my first report and you see a report nowadays, you see the progress. That progress has been achieved in challenges. We were in COVID-19,
Yeah.
I was not working, I was studying and practicing in challenges. Yes, later on, I did a couple of jobs here and there that showed me more about the job experience. But when I went to that first job, I knew what I was doing, Brian, because all the challenges.
Yeah. It really
I
does
need
give
to
you just
get
tremendous practical experience. And I think to your point, about getting better is, we have a challenge showcase where everybody's entries since the challenge number one are available and you can take a look at those. And, if you're thinking, oh, I don't know if my entry is going to be good enough or something, look at some of the, the folks you think are really good designers and go back and look at some of their early entries. Nobody is an expert right off the bat, and nobody is a top-notch participant right off the bat. And I think I look at my early entries, and some of those are rough, and I learn, and even still, every one that I submit I learn from, and get better. And so you look at some of the very best competitors in our challenges, and you go back to their early reports, and they've come a long way. And I think everybody progresses, and it's really just such a supportive community that you're going to get welcome, you're going to get really good feedback, and one of the things you and I have talked about, and we've gotten some questions on, is it okay to participate in teams? If you want to just team up with a friend or a couple of friends and do it together, is that okay?
Thank you. That is a very interesting question. Yes, you can participate in teams. You can go on your own. You can have as many participants you want in your team. If that made you participate, get a couple of mates, friends, and go for it. If one person is going to put the report, actually, if there is a team, okay, we are going to see how we can benefit the team if they are doing very well, because I need to think about that. What are they going to get in the nice way? So, yes, please participate. If you are in teams or you're on your own, and if you need help, guys, please just post a comment in the forum or reach me and the helping team, okay, and we will try to clarify any doubt that they have. The idea is for you to engage, not to be afraid of war. I remember competing with Alex Badiou, and I think, Federico, are you crazy? Well, the last time you mentioned Alex Badiou and me together, we're in Challenge 17 now. I am mentioned with Alex Badiou that I was scared to compete again.
Yeah.
So, guys, the only thing is to win. You are not going to lose anything because you are new. What you are going to do is gain, and the day your name is by my side and Alex by you, now I have a competitor. Now I will look at you and say, well done. You are not competing with me. Now I have to compete with you. And I think that is a great achievement.
I think so too. And talk a little bit just about, if you would, I think one of the great innovations you've brought is the LinkedIn group. Since we've had the forum for members, we've now got this LinkedIn group for non-members as a way to communicate and, ask questions, and just talk a little bit about that.
Yes. Enterprise DNA is a very open organization. Sam is a fantastic CEO, and he is not shy about benefiting of the community, benefiting from the work we try to do. The idea is, okay, we have a very high number of members in the Enterprise DNA community or pay members, but we wanted to bring to the community. We want to tell you, listen, you can participate with us. We want you to be with us. We want to create also a community around you for you to practice, to see what we do.
Yeah.
If you finally come to join the membership to carry on your studies, Enterprise DNA have now courses on everything. Right? SharePoint, Power Up, Power Automate, R, Python, Excel. It's not just Power BI.
Yeah.
If you can join us, and there are different ways to join us, there is a range of courses that will prepare you for the day to do a job better than anyone. So the idea was to reach this community and bring them to one, participate, talk to us. There is we are not forcing you to do anything. If you want to participate, you participate. If you want to comment, you comment. If you want to become a member, you become a member. There is no obligation at all.
Right.
But come close to us. Look at the people we are. It's Brian, it's Federico, it's Alec. They're quite normal people who you know them, and there is nothing to be scared of. Okay, the only thing I am scared of is how powerful you will be in a few months if you carry on practicing, because I'm gonna try to make you better. So my worry, how good is this guy?
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, is really just, is getting better. Is that I always kind of look at it as that if I am better at the end of a challenge than when I started, that's a huge win. Whether,
right.
Kind of regardless of how I do in the competition. And the experts are kind of excluded from that now. But, when I was competing, it was really just, kind of, can I compete against who I was at the start of the challenge versus who I am at the end of it? And that to me is kind of the ultimate competition in that.
Think about, Brian, I finished a course. I have experience. I learned about row level security, the normal one. Okay, now I have to practice.
Yeah.
If not, it disappears. It's gone. So I get my report. I see a challenge. I'm going to do some row level security. It might have nothing to do with the challenge, but I practice. And repetition. Start thinking everything in your brain. Repetition.
Yeah.
Now, when you see 3-5, I have to append them. There is no more thinking anymore. You know what you have to do because you have repeated and repeated and repeated. And that repetition, when you finish the challenge, I am sure you, tomorrow, as you said before, you will look at it and say, okay, today I learned that, and now it is in my brain. It will not go. It stays there. Because course retention knowledge is about 30%, 40%. After the course, 40 or 50%. Me, personally, 60% of what I learn is gone. I retain that 40%, but then I have to carry on practicing.
Well, I think, one of the other things that's great is you build those challenges and those resources, and you can go back and look at them later. I mean, there are things I've done that I focused on specifically in a challenge that I go back to and say, okay, when I web scraped that for challenge 5, how did I do it? And I go back to it. And the nice thing about it is it's not just my entries, is that everybody who participates in the challenge kind of adds to that body of knowledge. And, in sharing the challenge entries, and particularly in the write-ups that people do afterward, there's just a huge amount of knowledge and information sharing that goes on. And you can really kind of use those challenges as kind of a resource for the future, in terms of going back and saying, I get a lot of questions on the forum, and I say, oh, if you go back, on KPIs to, Federico's report on challenge 16, take a look at what he did there, building KPIs without any custom visuals. And that's a great resource to look at. And so, I think
that was something that I learned from something that I did in another competition, a report. And I want now to make sure I understand the process, the logical statement, the if, where to bring the icon, how to. So I do it, and I did 20 different KPIs in one page, just for me to keep that in my head. And as you said before, look at other people's report, you learn technique. You now look at reports, okay, this guy has done this with that. I have done this with that. let's try to do it myself.
Yeah.
And I go in my desktop, I got like a folder with about 10 or 15 different Power BI reports where I have tons and tons of that calculation. So if I don't remember one, I know it is in this report or in one of those reports. I just need to go there, copy and paste, adapt it, and sort it out.
Yeah.
So you build, you keep, you remember what it is when you need it, and go back to it. But again, you need to practice.
Yeah. And that's it. All comes down, no matter how good any instruction we provide is, without practice, it's not going to stick. So at this point, I think we're ready to kind of hand it over to folks and say, jump in, get your hands dirty with the data set, participate, become part of the community. Any final words, final tips for folks?
Hey, I just want you to be better than me. Guys, if you are there, I want you to be better than me. Because you are better than me in 3, 6, a year time, it's because I did my job properly, and that is the pleasure of it.
That's a great way
Being
to think
able
about it.
to pass that.
Thank you, Federico. I'm really looking forward to seeing this challenge and what you've got for us coming up in the future.
Okay, thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye now.